We have seen a lot of crazy things over the past 2 years, and it has felt like the world was ending at times. But if the world were to actually end, how would that happen? One of the ways that the world could end is by something that we can't control at all. This is what happened in 1980 when the Mount St. Helens volcano erupted. A magnitude 7.3 earthquake struck just moments before the eruption, which killed 57 people. But there are certain natural disasters which are even worse than this. These are called supervolcanic eruptions. In this video, we will take a look at one of the worst volcanic eruptions in history and see if we can do anything to stop it from happening again. First, let's start with the basics. What is a volcano? Well, volcanoes are formed when magma from the Earth's core makes its way to the surface. This happens when tectonic plates collide and the land is pushed upwards. Over time, this builds up to form a cone-shaped mountain. But sometimes the pressure from the magma is too much and it erupts through the top. When this happens, it can cause massive destruction and even end life on our planet. Volcanoes are measured by their volcanic explosivity index, or the VEI. The higher the number, the more explosive the volcano. Most of the volcanoes that erupt are just a level 2 or 3. However, every once in a while, a volcano will reach levels 4 to 8. These types of volcanoes can be extremely dangerous, even deadly. And although they don't happen very often, there are some volcanoes which are so powerful that they can change the course of history, and these are the supervolcanoes. A supervolcanic eruption is one of the worst natural disasters that humans have ever experienced. They are rare, but they are so deadly that they can wipe out entire civilizations. The largest supervolcanic eruption in history was the eruption of Lake Toba in Indonesia around 74,000 years ago. The eruption was so violent that it caused global cooling and nearly wiped out humanity. If it wasn't for this event, we may not be here today. So how did this all go down? The Toba eruption began with a magnitude 8.2 earthquake, which triggered a landslide. This caused a large amount of rock and debris to fall into the lake and cause a wave. The wave hit the shore with such force that it created a 50-meter-high tsunami. But this was just the beginning, because shortly after the landslide, the magma chamber beneath the lake collapsed. This caused the water to drain from the lake and exposed the molten lava below. The hot magma then reacted with the water and caused steam to be released. This made the eruption even more violent and caused ash and pumice to be thrown into the air. In total, 2,800 cubic kilometers of material was blasted into the atmosphere during this eruption. To put that into perspective, that is the equivalent of 100 million Olympic swimming pools full of material. It is hard to imagine how destructive this eruption was, but the effects were felt around the entire world. The ash and gases blocked out the sun and caused temperatures to plummet. Some scientists believe that this was the main reason why most of the Neanderthals died off. This gave the modern humans an advantage and allowed them to spread around the world. So even though the Toba eruption wiped out many species, it also helped our species survive. But what about a supervolcanic eruption today? Well, there are still a few supervolcanoes around the world that could erupt at any time. And if they did, it would be devastating. Yellowstone National Park is home to the Yellowstone caldera. The park itself is a major tourist destination and is home to bison, bears, and wolves, but hidden beneath the park is a supervolcano. The Yellowstone supervolcano is the site of the largest volcanic eruption in U.S. history. The magma chamber beneath the volcano is so large that it is visible from space. And even though it hasn't erupted in 640,000 years, scientists are still worried. This is because the volcano is due for an eruption and it could happen at any time. In fact, it could even happen right now. When the volcano does erupt, it will cause massive destruction. The ash and gases will spread around the world and block out the sun. This will cause the temperature to plummet and crops to fail. It will be so bad that it could potentially end all human civilization. There are already signs that the Yellowstone supervolcano is starting to become active again. Scientists have noticed that the ground has started to shake near the park. There have also been more earthquakes in the area than normal. Although this doesn't mean that the volcano will erupt tomorrow, it does mean that we need to be prepared. So, what are we doing to prevent a supervolcanic eruption? Well, scientists are constantly monitoring the Yellowstone supervolcano. They are looking for any signs of activity which could indicate that it is getting ready to erupt. They are also drilling deep into the earth to try and find out what is going on beneath the surface. Although we don't know exactly what the inside of the volcano looks like, we do know that there is a magma chamber beneath the surface. This chamber is filled with hot molten rock, which could erupt at any time. The chamber is so large that it stretches for miles beneath the ground. If the magma chamber were to collapse, it would cause the ground to shake for hundreds of miles. The shock waves would travel around the world and cause buildings to collapse. As you might expect, a supervolcanic eruption would be very difficult to stop. The amount of energy released would be so great that it would be impossible to contain. Even if we did find a way to stop the eruption, the damage would already be done. The ash and gases would have already been released into the atmosphere and would have caused global cooling. So even though we can't stop a supervolcanic eruption, we can prepare for it. Scientists are working on ways to detect the early signs of an eruption so that people can be evacuated in time. They are also developing new technologies to monitor the volcano and study its activity. Mount Vesuvius is a volcano in Italy which destroyed the Roman city of Pompeii in 79 AD. The city was buried in ash and pumice and most of the inhabitants died. Although Vesuvius hasn't erupted in over 1,000 years, it is still considered to be active. Scientists are constantly monitoring the volcano, and they are taking steps to protect the nearby city of Naples. One of the things that scientists are doing is studying the history of the volcano. They are looking for patterns in the eruptions and trying to predict when the next one will occur. They are also monitoring the gases that are coming from the volcano. If the gases change in composition, it could be a sign that the volcano is getting ready to erupt. Scientists are also using satellites to monitor the volcano. Satellites can detect changes in the shape of the volcano and can also measure the heat coming from it. One of the things that scientists are doing to protect the city of Naples is building a new high-speed train line. The train line will allow people to evacuate the city quickly if the volcano erupts. They are also developing new ways to warn people about the eruption. If the volcano does erupt, people need to be warned as soon as possible so that they can get out of the danger zone. Although we can't stop a supervolcanic eruption, we can take steps to prepare for it. By studying the history of volcanoes and monitoring their activity, we can learn more about them and develop new ways to protect ourselves from their power. Now watch. What if Earth had no core? Or check out what would happen if the sun went out.